Chapter 252 Separation. Do you know a bit about the details of this person's cultivation? If he isn't an important disciple or the Yan clan and his cultivation isn't high, I can go have a chat with him and should be able to smoothly resolve this, Han Li calmly said as he rubbed his nose. In fact, he clearly understood that being able to force a mortal girl required a high enough cultivation. Thus, he could only be a bit careful about this. I had Kaiwan investigate this matter before. Apparently his fundamental cultivation had reached the 5th layer. Although his surname is Yan, he is certain to be an unimportant character of the Yan clan. Otherwise, if he were an important disciple, why would he live among us mortals? Lady Yan was worthy of being the former head of the Mo estate. Even though she had reached such dire straits, she managed to neatly arrange this matter and thoroughly understood it. This is of no question. In a moment, Junior Marshal Sister will just have to show me the way, then I'll go and settle this problem. When Han Li heard this, he nodded his head and replied, "Many thanks, Senior Marshal Brother. I knew that Senior Marshal Brother was certain to help." When Mo Kaiwan clearly heard this, she sweetly called out with extreme happiness, "Han Li, we've truly troubled you. If we hadn't, how else could this mother and daughter possibly challenge a cultivator?" Gratitude flashed through Lady Yan's eyes, but then she sighed and helplessly added, "Although this place appears to restrict cultivators from harassing us mortals, there are far too many counts of cultivators humiliating mortals, but how could the Yan clan possibly punish all those cultivators? Moreover, if a mortal is not careful and actually start a feud with a cultivator, he would evaporate without a trace. This is a rather common occurrence." Han Li had heard the unwillingness to be powerless in her words. After all, compared to the grandeur of the ultimate power grasped by the Mo estate, their current life of swallowing their anger was, as Lady Yan had described, truly humiliating. After Han Li heard this, he was silent for a moment, then he asked a few questions of his misgivings. "Master's wife, Junior Marshal Sister should have long reached a suitable age for marriage. Why hasn't she found a suitable partner within the castle yet? If she married a cultivator, wouldn't you have someone to rely on?" "Marry? I won't marry those Yan clan cultivators." Just as Han Li had finished speaking, Lady Yan bitterly smiled as Mo Kaiwan loudly rejected this with an entirely unhappy expression. "Why?" Han Li was somewhat astonished. "Senior Marshal Brother, the cultivators of the Yan clan fundamentally do not treat us mortal girls justly. If a mortal were to marry to them, she would basically be treated as a mortal slave, nothing more. It would be undesirable for any girl to be in this position since she would be beaten and scolded often. I would rather remain single for my entire life than marry." Mo Kaiwan's voice was quick and anxious. It was clear she greatly feared this. "Han Li, you didn't know this, but your Junior Marshal Sister made a friend here, a mortal in this castle, and she was married to a Yan clan cultivator. The result was not as expected. She was frequently abused, and when her appearance aged, they found an excuse to abandon her, leaving her extremely miserable. That cultivator then married again to a young pretty woman. Sigh, if only there were a good-natured cultivator like her stepfather. There are truly too few of them there. I am also unwilling to subject Kaiwan to hardship. As for marrying her to a mortal, her perspective is too large. How could she possibly put them in her eyes?" Lady Yan explained Mo Kaiwan's actions. "So it's like that. But if that's the case, will Junior Marshal Sister never get married her entire life?" Han Li naturally asked, wrinkling his brow. When Han Li said this, Lady Yan's expression changed as if she wanted to say something. But after a moment of hesitation, she decided to not say it. It was unknown what Mo Kaiwan was thinking since she too lowered her head and remained silent. Then Han Li realized the atmosphere felt a bit amiss, as if. He immediately broke the mood, saying, "Junior Marshal Sister, show your Senior Marshal Brother the way. Let's resolve this matter first and talk about this later." "All right." Mo Kaiwan hesitated for a moment before agreeing. When Lady Yan saw this, she did not have any intention to oppose. Thus, Han Li and Mo Kaiwan departed from the store for the time being and went straight toward the cultivator's residence, which was quite far away. "Senior Marshal Brother, what layer is your cultivation?" When you knocked on his door, it appeared to be like a mouse seeing a cat. He called you senior incessantly and bowed to you so many times. With that kind of respect, it was as if he saw his own ancestor. Mo Kaiwan returned to the lively bearing that Han Li remembered. On the desolate path on the way back, she continuously giggled. That was how a young 20-year-old woman should act. When Han Li saw this, he faintly smiled and humbly answered, "It's nothing, I was just a layer higher." According to the customs of the cultivation world, he truly should be calling me senior. When Mo Kaiwan heard this, happiness flashed through her eyes, and she giggled even more. Regardless, when I remember that funny expression when he saw me, I can't help but laugh. This time, Han Li didn't say anything and only silently smiled toward Mo Kaiwan. After a moment, Mo Kaiwan became shy and turned her face away, saying nothing else. But a moment later, she said something that greatly surprised Han Li. "Senior Marshal Brother, without spiritual roots, is there truly no method to cultivate? I also want to be a cultivator like you." Mo Kaiwan turned her head toward him with a face of grief and a voice with hope. When Han Li saw this scene, he felt slight heartache but could only remain silent. Ever since ancient times, it was impossible to cultivate without spiritual roots. This has been a constant, rigid truth of the cultivation world for hundreds of thousands of years. How could he possibly have great enough ability to break this? When Mo Kaiwan saw Han Li's expression, her originally blazing heart grew cold. She knew that this extremely capable senior marshal brother also to have no method for this. She could not help but become saddened, silently falling a few steps behind Han Li. The journey slowed, and the two appeared to become quiet. When the two weren't far away from the small shop, Han Li suddenly stopped and turned towards Mo Kaiwan, saying, "I still have matters to attend to and can't return to see Marshal Mother. Let's depart here. Fortunately, I will be here at Yanling Castle for several more days. Perhaps there will be an opportunity to see you in the future." "What? Senior Marshal Brother wants to leave now?" Mo Kaiwan was startled at first but then appeared greatly disappointed. Here are a few tens of spirit stones. Give them to Marshal Mother to set them aside for emergencies. Right now, this is all I can do." Han Li took out a small leather pouch from his storage pouch and handed it over to Mo Kaiwan. "Many thanks, Senior Marshal Brother." Mo Kaiwan said this with a soft voice, appearing extremely feeble. Reluctance to separate appeared in her eyes. When Han Li saw this display, he didn't know why, but he felt a peculiar pain in his heart. After he hesitated for a moment, he took out a silver bottle and tossed out a pink pill. "Take this. Although it won't make you a cultivator, it will make it so your appearance will never age and you will forever stay young. This can be considered my present to you as your senior marshal brother," Han Li said with a solemn expression. "Senior marshal brother, I." When Mo Kaiwan heard this, she couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Her desire to say the words in her heart grew stronger. However, Han Li did not let her say them. He flicked his finger and the medicine pill flew into her mouth, causing her to involuntarily swallow. "Junior Marshal Sister, I am leaving. You and Marshal Mother take care of yourselves." When these words were spoken, Han Li faintly shook and his appearance remained for a second. He then completely disappeared. "Senior Marshal Brother," Mo Kaiwan called out, astonished. She rushed forth several steps and looked around in every direction. Could there still be any trace of Han Li? Helpless, Mo Kaiwan could only slowly walk back to the store with a saddened expression. After a short moment, Han Li appeared in a room not too far away. After he silently looked on for a moment more, he disappeared again without hesitation. Although Han Li was not certain what this junior marshal sister was going to say to him, he could make a fairly accurate guess. But unfortunately, while they were destined to meet, they were not fated to be together. His feelings toward her had not reached that stage. Not to mention his lifespan as a Foundation establishment cultivator was truly far too different from her own. That was also why he was unwilling to touch these feelings. After all, powerlessly seeing the people he loved wither before his eyes was truly something Han Li found intolerable. Heavenly Crane Residence. The name of this tea house appeared before Han Li. It was an ancient building, 3 stories high. As expected, it was somewhat imposing. With only a rough look, Han Li did not think deeper and entered. This was because he had already felt over 10 vibrations of magic power within the building, all of which were on par with his own. Only cultivators on the stage of Foundation establishment or greater could release such spiritual power. He entered the tea house and swept his gaze across without stopping in the slightest. Then he went up to the 2nd floor. This was because on the 1st floor, there were only mortals without the slightest magic power. Although there were a few cultivators on the 2nd floor, the majority of them were of the chi condensation stage. They were fundamentally unable to enter Han Li's eyes at this moment. Han Li felt the fluctuation of magic power grow greater as he approached the 3rd floor, Han Li's real objective.